welcome to Wednesday night on Bad Dog Comedy TV. You are watching 5 Things with your amazing host, Alia Rasul.
Hello everyone, welcome to 5 Things on Bad Dog Comedy TV. I am your host, Alia Rasul, and before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are currently broadcasting from the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge this territory as the subject of the One Dish, One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Many know this land under its colonial name of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Welcome to the show! This season of 5 Things is hosted by me, Alia Rasul, and I am going to be talking to some of my favorite people, some of the best and brightest stars in comedy, and we're going to dig deep into the stories, politics, and personality behind their jokes or their favorite jokes. So, we have some of my most famous friends, humble brag, coming on this season, so make sure you hit like and or subscribe to make sure you don't miss a single one. Now, 5 Things is based on an improv warm-up game. So Bad Dog Comedy Theater is a pretty well-known comedy improv theater in Toronto. So 5 Things is one of the things that we use to warm up, to get out of our heads a little bit. So before I talk to our very esteemed guest, let me get out of my head and warm up with a quick game of 5 Things. So, Ajahnis, our wonderful tech, do you mind giving me a quick suggestion for a thing that you'd like to hear 5 things about?
I would love to hear 5 things about the wonderful world of food and your favorites in it.
Oh, the wonderful world of food and my favorites in it. Great. Well, the number one thing to know about me is that I don't cook. I don't cook. I remember when the pandemic started and people were kind of hoarding groceries. I actually sent a photo to, spoiler alert, our guest, COKO GALORE, of a photo of what's in my fridge. And she was like, you're joking, right? Because in there was a banana and maybe a tub of butter. So that's one. Alia Rasul doesn't cook. Number 2, I spend most of my money on Uber Eats. This is not an ad. This is just a fact. And it's something I'm working on, but also whatever. Life is short. Uber Eats, not an ad. Number 3, I just had 2-for-1 pizza. Oh my God. This is just an ad for like a bunch of random, not great food, really. Sorry, no offense, 2-for-1 pizza, but so tasty if you want like a nice Tuesday special. Was that 3? 4. For my favorite food growing up was sushi because my dad really loved it. So a tradition on my birthday is to go to all-you-can-eat sushi. Except like as I get older, I realize really like it's probably better for me to spend the all-you-can-eat sushi kind of money on maybe like $20 on like actually good sushi. You know what I mean? Yeah, like there's nothing quite like sake, like the salmon sushi. Just like done really well. And number 5, I used to run a restaurant. Yeah, I used to run a restaurant in a completely different life. I've blocked it out because running a restaurant is so hard. So I want to do a quick shout out to everyone, honestly everyone who runs restaurants, everyone who feeds me, because clearly I don't feed myself. Thank you so much for your hard work, and I love you. And that is 5 things about my world, food related. I'm feeling warmed up. Thank you so much, Ajahnis, for that suggestion. I think we're ready to talk about our guest. And I've already mentioned it's COKO GALORE. So a little bit about COKO. COKO is an actor, comedian, and curator. She's one half of the dynamic improv comedy duo COKO and Daphne. Oh my gosh, famous. festival director of Black and Funny Toronto and Asian and Funny, and the co-producer of the Untitled Black Sketch Project with Ajahnis, who's our tech. Hey, Ajahnis. Her performance credits include headlining comedy festivals across North America, including Portland, Vancouver, Chicago, and more. And most recently, CBC's Tall Boys. COKO currently lives in Toronto and is the artistic and managing director of the Bad Dog Comedy Theatre, where she is instrumental in the creation of their digital platforms, Bad Dog Comedy TV, the thing that we're on here now, Bad Dog Online Education, where you could learn how to do things like the five things improv warm-up game, and Bad Dog Comedy Podcast, which is where you will find this episode and all the previous seasons of 5 Things. So, without further ado, hi, COKO.
Hi.
Boom, boom, boom. Hello. Flip, flip. So, it's going. Thanks for having me.
I'm like, what? It's more like, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Guest on your podcast. What do you
But
mean?
I'm a guest on your channel. What?
Okay, but is it my channel or is it the Bad Dog, like the collective, the community that is Bad Dog? It is all of our channels, including you.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to talk to you. And I kind of have been talking a big game about curating 100 questions because you basically gave me carte blanche. Usually before we when I invite guests to this show, I'm like, okay, is there anything that you specifically want to talk about? And you were like, anything, and I'm like, anything, and my brain kind of went exploded. So I think I'm pretty proud with the 5 that I ended up with.
Okay.
So we'll see. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
I am ready.
You are ready. We are both ready.
We are both ready.
Okay.
Am I close enough to the mic? Ajahnis, am I close enough to the mic?
You could go closer.
Oh, okay.
Am I too close to the mic?
You are both a perfect distance from the microphone.
Okay, now we are a perfect distance. Okay, great.
Amazing. Okay, so thing number 1. How are your plants? So a little bit of context around this question. I feel like during the pandemic, and I don't know actually, maybe I'm assuming this, but during the pandemic, we both found a love of plants. And I think it's actually that journey has been pretty it's well recorded. What do you call it? Because the last time we had documented. Because the last time we had an interview together was on CBC morning show.
Yeah, we were on Metro Morning talking about our plants.
That's
For the
true.
record, I had plants before the pandemic. I would say I had 1/3 of the plants that I have, and now I have 3 times the amount of plants. But I don't have as many as you.
Oh, I have a confession with that. But first, let's see. How are your plants?
Okay, most of my plants are good. I killed a couple of orchids and got new ones. Well, okay, I called my aunt and I was like, can you give me orchids? And she's like, I'm not giving you any of mine. I will buy you new ones and I will nurture them for a couple of months and then I will give them to you. So I said, okay. And then my pearl of strings, I think that's what it's called, or string of pearls. It's a
string of
plant
pearls sounds right.
Yeah, string of pearls. Yeah, so that died recently, and I was very sad. And and some of my plants are dormant right now, which I'm not used to. I'm like,
what does that mean?
It means I think my calatheum, I think that's what it's called. It's huge and red, whatever. And I Googled it, so I know that this happens, is during the fall and the winter, they don't bloom. And anything that blooms is a smaller version of the plant. And so it just basically shuts down and takes a nap, and it'll come back during the spring. And I've never had that before. So I will let you know how that one and my begonias are doing when April comes. And now I know the name of my plants, because when we were on Metro Morning, I didn't know any of the names. I was like, it's pretty. It's pink.
Okay, well, I have a confession. Okay. So the pandemic, what a wild time. I actually like look back at photos from like the beginning of it. I'm like, man, that was like a different person at that specific moment in time. And that person decided to buy, as we mentioned, like 42 plants all at the same time. And I was like, this is who I am now. I'm this new version of Alia Rasul who like is a plant person now. Prior to the pandemic, I thought I could not keep a plant alive. So that's wrong. I was basically like a farmer within my house.
I love that.
I will say that now that things have opened up again, I may be struggling.
Okay.
I may be struggling, and I'm also a little bit frustrated.
What is the percentage of your plants?
No, don't ask me that. Okay, fine. Okay, just because in the spirit of sharing percentage of plants, those 42 in my defense at this point in time, when we were talking, those 42, most of them were on my balcony. So they were like seasonal plants. Okay. It's cold now. Let's not count that. But I will say.
Yeah, we won't count the ones that take a nap. We won't count those. Yeah.
I will say all told, 50%, it's very bad. It's so
50%.
bad. I know.
Is it okay? So is it that you're not taking care of them? So because it's fall, we actually don't need to take care of them as much as we do during the spring. So that is the truth. I'm also not taking care of my plants as much, but I would say I water them every 10 to 14 days now, and they're like, that's enough. That's enough. Some of my plants are really rude. They're really rude. Like my piece of lily is rude. She's like, I need water, and then she just, and then when you put water, she's like, that's what I thought, and she will do that every 5 to 6 days if I don't water her. And then you have some plants that start turning a color, and you're like, oh my god, what's wrong? What's wrong, baby? And then you Google, and the plant is really like, that's enough water. I don't need that much water. Calm down. I was like, whoa, okay.
I know. Like, it's just a variety of things. It's funny because, like, I got them through a winter and then spring hit, and some of them were just like, goodbye. And I don't understand. And I was like, okay. It's like mealy bugs, which is so gross. It takes so much time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's just because I'm not home all the time anymore.
But
so neglect.
Okay, but I think what it comes down to is your watering schedule.
Every 2 weeks, baby.
We're getting real nerdy here.
We're
all
getting
about
nerdy.
The watering schedule. So I water
true.
my plants every 10 to 14 days, except for the peace lily. She's like, more please. Thirsty. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about them out loud like this, because
you're gonna get sassed tomorrow.
Yeah,
you're gonna get sassed by this lily
sassed
tomorrow. Yeah.
And I've been eyeing the plant store, and there's a couple that I want to pick up. So, winter is coming. So I feel like, I don't know. There was no justification for winter is coming. There's just a few plants I've been eyeing and I want to pick up.
I honestly, you know what? Yes, me too. But I'm also like, I gotta be responsible because 50%, that is terrible.
That is a bit harsh.
I know. And it's, it's a growing lesson for me, but unfortunately my plants paid the price for that lesson. So I'm so glad I got that off my chest because I feel like you were really excited. You were really excited about me having these plants. And
I was so excited. I kept asking you for pictures.
So I feel like, there you go. I've confessed, and I want to get that out of the way.
Okay. And I'm okay with it. I accept you as you are. A plant
thank you.
I accept
you.
I'm kidding.
You know what? I'll own it. That's who I am. But I can, knowing that, it means I can improve on it just do better.
That's right.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to get, I know we got really nerdy there, but I'm going to get into it. This is the one question that I double checked with you because
yes.
We're going to get into this. So, Coco and I met. It's been a few years now. And
Has
So-
it been probably almost 10 years? No, maybe not. 10
No,
years.
really?
Maybe like 5 or 6. Okay, maybe like
Maybe,
6.
yeah.
We'll say 6.
Okay, so thing number 2, we're going to talk a little bit about our beginnings.
Yeah.
Our beginnings.
Yeah.
And I think about this a lot. So for everyone out there, I do. no, but in a good way. So in the very beginning of me and Coco meeting each other, Coco was not a fan of Alia. No. Expand.
Yeah, I think
Okay, first of all, just to make sure everyone's feeling safe. Like,
no, I feel fine. I'm just like,
but like
no,
the
I feel
audiences.
fine. Yeah,
this
I
is
feel- I
something
feel
we've
fine.
talked about at
we've
length.
talked about this, and I've been very open about it. I think
Yes.
one of the things that was challenging for me when it came to like when you first came, and I think it was when you started doing like POC work. Prior
Yes.
to that,
Yeah.
I was like, oh cool, Alia, like I didn't really know you.
Yeah.
But I would say had, because now I try to be a bit more forgiving, because I've started to understand like not everybody is in the same place with their liberation, etc. But one of the things that I have a hardest time with is people doing the work and becoming representatives of the POC community or the BIPOC community. So, and me feeling like they themselves are not doing introspective work to undo bias in their own life, etc. So, yeah, so I think my observation, I was like, you can't take this, because it's a huge weight on your shoulders. It's a lot of work. And
Yeah.
it also requires a lot of work to get to that place where you can do a lot of work. It's not just, I'm just not a believer that just because you are blank, it means that you are now an expert on this topic,
Yes.
right? You are an
Yes.
expert of your own experience, and that is valid, but it doesn't mean that you can necessarily speak to it from an expertise, like in terms of like as an area of conversation. And this is something that particularly bugged me, because as our community, like meaning the comedy scene, was starting to want to do inclusion and diverse work, what I had noticed is that they would just grab a POC person
Yep.
who was willing and be like, hey, you're now going to be the POC representative, or
Yeah.
you're now going to be delegated this role. And it was so, and that's the part that, and we've talked about this, where I think I wasn't empathetic enough, and I should have been, and I try to be more of that now, is that is also a system putting it on you, that you're like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And I'm in the corner being like, you shouldn't be saying yes, but not really recognizing the challenges that you might have been facing
Yes.
yourself, you know. And also, like, you're a human, you want to expand yourself. But what completely turned it around for me is when you got the inclusion director title at Bad Dog. That's the way when you got the inclusion. I think prior to that, when I was watching your come up as like a POC representative, I was a little bit annoyed, because I was like, has she done the work? Like, this, do we know what we're talking about here? And then we had a collective incident where everybody kind of like, and that's when I kind of was like, I don't know that it's her fault. Like, how can you ask someone who has, in a way, the least amount of power in the room to be the one who has to steer the ship the hardest to turn it in a different direction? Like, that's fucked up, and that's really hard. And I think that's when I started realizing what was going on. And then on top of that, I started seeing you do the work. And I think that's when I was like, okay, Alia, I see you doing the work. And then we became friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, doing the work, I don't think in the beginning times.
In the beginning times.
In the beginning times, like doing that work, that phrase was something I had never heard anyone say until you uttered it. And it's not like you didn't not make me, like you made me aware that that is something that I was like falling short of, and not in a toxic way. It's just like, okay, and so the reason why I say I think about this all the time now is because having been an inclusion director and having been sort of, I think like one of the curses of doing the work is that it's just constant. You can't get away from it, and you're kind of like, I wish I could go back into the Matrix a little bit.
Yeah. But like be like Cypher and be like, maybe someone rich, and I want to forget everything. Like,
yeah, like I just want to enjoy something without being like, oh man, was that like something like a problem problem to solve, I guess. But because I'm in that position, I look at folks who I can tell were in my position when I was in the beginning, and who that person was someone who wanted to make a space of her own in comedy, had zero awareness of anti-oppression, social justice, zero. And so was creating these spaces that were potentially harmful for the people coming in, despite having the best intentions, right? And I, looking back, realized that because I was in that position, I was actually allowing systems to continue and making people who were doing the work, making their jobs even harder. So I don't know, like, I just see it a lot. And like, I don't know if this feels like you, anyone out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause the thing is, I believe in a lot of times I believe in impact over intention. We all want what's like, no one wants to be like mean, and I mean some people do, but you know what I mean, like from a general perspective, I like to believe that people are good and people want to do well, but that's not how your actions always like that's not always the consequence or the result. Like, I always strive to do my best, but it doesn't mean, like, I've hurt people and I know this, like, you know what I mean? And you have to take accountability and responsibility, and more importantly, you have to know that happens. And I think that's the thing that's so important when it comes to, like, it can't just be, but I'm trying to do good and I'm trying to do well, and that's enough.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's not what it is. Sometimes you do end up doing the wrong thing or impacting something in the wrong way. And I'm saying this as someone who has done stuff in, obviously like my personal life, but also while doing the work. I've done shit that's been hurtful, and I've had to take accountability and stuff. So I say that so casually, take accountability and stuff, but I've had to take accountability. And I think those are the key factors. Is we've had conversations, and I think that's what expanded our friendship and our kind of like relationship in this world where we're both doing the work. Is if I'm like, hey, when you did this, it felt more like this than this, and I don't think that you saw it from that angle, for you to be like, oh, you know what, I didn't even see that, that's not what I meant, however, I will take accountability for the impact that happened. We can only grow from there. And I think this is something that's very interesting, because so many people are scared to apologize, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? That's actually the easiest part, to be like, I was wrong.
Yep.
And understanding the depth of that. I don't understand, like, sometimes people do things that are like wrong, and I'm like, just say you're wrong. It's okay to be wrong.
Yeah, and you get much better at it the more you do it. Not to say like, apologize for no reason, but it does, open your life up to, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like our friendship is kind of a testament to that, where, like, yes, I made so many mistakes and I've hurt people, but there are folks who are there. Like, when you're ready to do the work and you're a safe person to be around, or, like, people will invest in you. A part of that is an investment in it's you committing to work hard as well. Like, for example, our conversation yesterday, we were talking about BIPOC representation in a space in comedy. And then you said to me, yeah, but you're not BI. So BIPOC, for those who don't know, like Black, Indigenous, person of color. And then even you just saying that made me realize, like, oh my gosh, like I've erased Black and Indigenous from BIPOC. To me, it's just synonymous with POC now, which is like very harmful.
Yeah, it's not the same. And I really like I cannot stress how harmful that is. Yeah. Because essentially when you equate them, you're erasing the extreme hardships that Black and Indigenous folks go through on a daily basis, on a microaggressive, on a like hyper aggressive, if we want to say, like you're just erasing that. And it feels, the problem is that the system and we know what we mean when we say the system.
Oh, we know.
The system also wants to equate us as all the same.
Yes.
Right? And what I find that they do is they look to non-Black or Indigenous POC to solve an issue across the board without listening to Black and Indigenous folks. And it's just so hurtful because then the system goes, we did it, guys. We did it. And then they keep it moving. And you're like, even within the BIPOC, so there's several tiers to this, right? Mm-hmm. POC, meaning non-Black and Indigenous POC, have also built in anti-Black, anti-Indigenous biases, colonial biases, right? So there's that point. And even in the wider scope, BIPOC folks, including Black Indigenous, also have work to undo because we are all part of the system. We're all part of the matrix. So it's not like, oh, I'm Black and I'm Indigenous and I get off scot-free. No, I also have to do work to undo like colonial imprints on myself, anti-Black, even though I'm Black, anti-Asian, even though I'm Asian. Like I also have to do the work to undo that within myself. It's kind of like the best way that I can explain it, because for some reason when we talk about Black and Indigenous, everybody's like, I just don't, but like, I mean, it's just not real. So I'll use like being a woman, like, you know what I mean? Like, even if I've seen misogynistic women, I've seen women hate women, I've seen women be part of the patriarchal system and reinforce those things on behalf of, because like, I don't know what the saying is, but at the end of the day, once it's imprinted on you and you're the one automating it, the system doesn't even need to be there.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, like, for example, like, a white person doesn't need to be in the room for racism to happen anymore, because it's already like colonialism and all those roots are so entrenched in us that we're just doing it on automation. So it takes work to undo it. So I'm not a believer that just because you're BIPOC, it doesn't mean that you can't be anti-Black, anti-Indigenous, anti-POC. And in fact, and that's, I think that's the part that always hurts me a little bit more, because it's one thing when the system is like, we're ignorant, we're on the other side, but it's so hurtful when it's one of us being like not wanting to do the work, and it that always hurts me a little bit.
Yeah. It makes me want to shut down whenever I come across it's hard. Well, I mean, a little bit more, like, we're talking comedy today. So, thing number 3, which is a little bit, which is like going off of like what we're talking about. What does it mean to do the work within comedy?
Like, I laugh because I'm like, how do I even begin to answer it? I can't answer that completely because I don't know all the pockets of comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
right? But I think that for me, what it feels like is like, how can we continuously expand the idea of what we consider funny to be more inclusive? And I think that is my general perspective when it comes to comedy. And the way that I think it can be tackled in a couple of ways, but one of the things that I found was I kept seeing this happen and I was like, oh, I don't like this, right? It felt like a lot of systems wanted our physical selves on stage, but not necessarily our perspectives. So I found that we would still try to shut down what we might consider funny in our own communities in order to adhere to what the bigger system or the dominant system wanted to consider funny. And yeah, and I think that's challenging because I'm like, how can we keep expanding that? So I would see people not be considered funny, and meaning literally hear the word, that person's not funny. Yeah. This sketch is not funny. That stand-up is not funny. And I'm like, so there's two things here, right? It's true. There are some people that really might not be funny. So I don't want to be like, you know, because it is a skill. So I don't want to diminish the actual skill of comedy, of making people laugh, of writing jokes, of thinking of jokes. Like, it's a craft, and it's a challenging craft. But how can we include other people in that who also work just as hard as the dominant players, and be like, because a lot of times what I saw, so this is what I was going to say, a lot of times what I saw was that those people, I would hear, that's not funny, or that sketch is not funny, or this is not funny because, and then they would break it down. But if I took that sketch and presented it to the community that it really represented, they would, like, 9 times out of 10 be like, that's funny as shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? So how can we expand that? Is it maybe more like, hey, that's not funny to me?
Yes.
But let's see, because now I'm more like, that's not funny to me, but there's something here that I think other people enjoy, and I want to understand, explore, or that person's not funny to me, but I think there's something there. How can I, you know, I don't want to use the word push, but help nurture that person's confidence and stuff so that they can build their brand of funny.
Yes.
Because there's too many people that if we had allowed them to actually expand their brand of funny, they would, 1, be successful, and 2, they wouldn't leave. Because there's too many people that leave. And it's too often the people that actually, the perspective that make our field a little bit more, I don't want to keep using the word diverse, but interesting. Because to me, diversity is interesting. Ain't nobody trying to eat bananas every day. Like, you know, like, I always use like a buffet, and I feel bad because I'm comparing people to food, but at the same time I'm like, yo, nobody goes to Mandarin and just eats fries. Everybody's like, yo, put a little broccoli, you know, put a little chicken balls, put a little pizza. Yo, you want a sushi roll? Like, you want that expansion in your palate. Why can't that be also for comedy?
Yes.
Why can't we expand our palette of what we consider flavorful in comedy? So, yeah, I keep trying to fight that. And for me, I think I try to elevate the people who are like already like really, really good, and have them be the teachers and stuff, because I think that if those people are, I'm going to loosely use the word, like, properly elevated and given the confidence, then what happens, I think, is that the general public goes, hey, oh, that person looks like me. That person thinks like me. Oh, I can do this. And again, not everybody can do this. It is a craft, but give that person a chance. Rather than, hey, I don't see someone that looks like me. I'm just not even going to try.
Yes. I really appreciate using the word craft when it comes to comedy. Because again, coming up, through all of those different classes, I never really heard the difference between mastering a craft and pulling and basically differentiating between your point of view and your story away from your craft. It always just felt like a monolithic, like, you're not funny, as opposed to that's a really interesting story and idea, and that's valid, that's your experience, but maybe the way you've crafted that piece isn't working.
That's
right. I feel like that would have been more constructive, as opposed to it hurts when someone says you're not funny, and that's why a lot of people leave.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people leave. And I think my experience, I've had good or bad ones. I've had people continuously block me because they thought I wasn't funny, and they think I don't know that they blocked me. And I'm like, nigga, I see you block me. Like first of all, I'm older than you, and I sense things, right? But I've also had, in my comedy journey, people who were like, okay, tell me what your perspective is. Tell me what you're thinking. Because I wouldn't necessarily say that my brain was built to write jokes. I can tell jokes. I've always been that way. But there's a craft to it, as we said, and I really didn't get it. And I've had people be like, okay, tell me what you think is, what is it that you're trying to say? And I'm like, this, isn't this funny? And they're like, not the way you're saying it. However, if you spin it this way, it can be funny. And I'm like, and then you start kind of being like, oh, we can do it like this. Oh, what? We can do it like this. And then there's this way. And the more, for me personally, my journey was the more that started happening, the more my mind started expanding. And then also, I started being like, I don't give a shit if you specifically don't find it funny. There's 10 people in here. At least 5 will.
Yes.
And so that started happening. And then I started getting confident. So I thank those people who would take the ball and turn it. You know what I mean? And be like, hey, how about you see it from this angle? Or how about you tell it from this angle? And they were mostly women, just saying. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I can't talk about the pandemic enough, or maybe we've talked about the pandemic too much already, but
maybe we haven't.
But it obviously brought about a lot of change, right? And so you are considered a tastemaker, a curator within Toronto comedy. It's true. It's my
love for Kit Kats. It's my love for Japanese Kit Kats, isn't it? It is.
Well, I mean, people turn to you to be like, what's good comedy, right? So, I mean, which is funny to say given what we just talked about. Mm-hmm. But I guess my question for, my thing number 4.
Thing number 4.
Thing number 4, what's exciting? What's happening? What's exciting? What are you celebrating that's happening in comedy right now?
Oh, wow. So many things. I say that so plainly. So many things. I think the thing that I'm starting to see as shows are coming back. So there's one side of me that's like, things are not changing, and that is upsetting.
Yes.
So there's one side of that. But there's another side. Another side where I'm seeing producers be relentless in their pursuit of showcasing a variety of voices. Like my friend Matt Folliott was like, it's about who's not in the room, okay? Mm-hmm. That's how I'm gonna be. He's like, okay.
That's a good Matt Folliott. I vouch for it.
Right? And And this is like, I'm good friends with him, but at the same time, I'm not in his ear being like, Matt, it's about who's not in the room. You know what I mean? Go forth. Like, that's not what's happening, right? So I'm excited by some people and people in positions of power, very specifically, relentlessly being like, yeah, we're turning that table. It's not. Like, I see other people doing it this way, and it's not happening, and I'm not giving up, and I'm going to keep expanding that. And then the second part is I'm seeing, I think people who, prior to the pandemic, may have been too scared to produce any kind of show.
Yes.
People with important perspectives.
Yes.
And important things to say. And by that, I just, like, you know, I'm not necessarily being like, because they're divorced, they have important things. That's not my point necessarily. But I find that these people specifically have like really interesting thoughts and stuff. Those people are being like, I'm putting on a show. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. You were a student before the pandemic and maybe throughout the pandemic. And now, like, unapologetically being like, I'm going to put on this show and that show and this show. And I think the other day I watched a troupe and I couldn't stop laughing, and I did not, like, I was like, damn, y'all funny. And then when I talked to one of them, they did something that reminded me so much of Coco and Daphne. Is they told me that during the pandemic, they basically trained like athletes and were like, okay, there's a pandemic. Who do we have access to? Who's in Baltimore? Who's in Vancouver? Who's in Amsterdam? And hired a bunch of coaches to teach them, like, you know, online improv, and then came out and being like, okay, now we have to do it in person. But damn, they were funny, man. I was like, I was cackling in the back of the room, and I was like, I haven't seen improv that got me that excited in quite some time.
Well,
So it's very exciting to see people, like, people who have existing power be like, no more, and people who didn't have power prior to the pandemic being like, you know what, I'm gonna get confident and do this thing, because it makes me feel like, oh, like, it's happening. And it doesn't have to be like all like, you know, talk back all the time and symposium all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Just doing it. They're just putting on fun shows and being
Yes.
like, hey, you want to see 5 guys of color talk about our exes? And then people were like, but you meant, yeah, but like,
I
how
know.
many times have you seen 5 of us together talk about, like, and I was just like, this is so fucking exciting. And standing up for themselves. And I'm like, I'm in the corner feeling all mama bear, being like, good for you guys.
okay, well, you know what? Like, thing number 5, I'm going to ask you to name names, because I want to ask you who's making you laugh really hard. I mean, I'm sure lots of folks will listen to this podcast, like, looking for something to explore, something to discover, but, like, I would love to know what's on COKO Galore's list of things that are just making you cackle, as you say.
So the troupe that I was talking about very specifically is affirmative action.
Yes, I knew. I was wondering if it was.
Yeah,
yes,
it
we're
was affirmative
fans.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of them. Well, I watched that one show, and I've seen like some of them kind of dispersed playing, and so great.
Yes.
And I'm a huge fan of Edward Choi. I'm just like, damn, this guy is funny. And
yes.
like, sometimes he says things, and I'm like, how did your brain go there? How did it go there? Yeah, so I can't wait to see him continue, like, what he's doing. And also Alfred, like, there's not enough East Asian, I think, like, comedian performers.
Yeah.
So there's that as well. So that's very exciting. I'm excited. Okay, so this is funny. I didn't know this was happening, and I caught it on someone else's story, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Because, you know, you hear things, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then you click on it, and you're like, damn, I'm excited for Anesti.
Yeah!
Anesti's TikToks?
Yes, Anesti, who was our guest last week, episode 1.
Yo, I'm watching Anesti's TikToks, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He's so funny. Like, and I think he's found, like,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean. Like, he's found his thing. What if he gave up? You know, what if Vanessa's like, yo, y'all are being too mean. I'm just going to go work at a coffee shop or whatever. Like, so, yeah, so that was, like, his TikToks are so funny. And I'm excited for people who have turned to the internet to switch up their game, right? I'm excited for, I'm excited for Nkasi being on the Second City main stage.
Yes!
Because Nkasi does not play.
Yes,
okay?
I saw the first show before, like, Second City is moving to a new place. So the last show in that theater was the first show that Nkasi was on the main stage.
Yes.
And it was
and
awesome.
it's been a long time since we've had a Black woman on the main stage of Second City. And I think what I'm excited about it being her very specifically, not that I'm not funny, not that Daphne's not funny, but Nkasi is very relentlessly opinionated. She gives no fuck. She's like, this is what I think. Say something. And I'm just like, she's not gonna play with you guys. And I'm so excited to see the things that she's gonna say and the sketches that she's gonna write unapologetically herself. And in a way, I'm almost happy they made her wait, because the longer you make someone wait, the more confident. It's not the other way around, you know. I'm like, yo, she's been sitting in her comedy for a while, and she knows her groove and stuff. So excited for her. So excited for ABBA being on 22 minutes.
Superstar. Yes.
So fun. I'm also excited for, like, even the little bits like Leonard Chan being on, you know, and Brendan Ash Muhammad being on. And I have to say, okay, one of the people I'm most excited about, and he knows this because he's my child, is Ajahnis Charley. Like, Ajahnis Charley just turned 24, and he is teching this show, and he's probably blushing right now, but I'm just like, yo, you're just 24. And I hate to play this age game, but I'm like, if I had your brain at 24, it'd be over for you hoes. And that's that. Like, same with ABBA. Like, ABBA's young. ABBA's like, I think 25 or something. Yeah. And I'm like, imagine being that young, having, you know, like, they've worked really hard, very, like, strategically, the things that they choose to be part of. And I admire that, because it's not that, like, hey, we're just going to do all the shows. So they've been strategic, both of them. So I'm so excited for, like, yo, when they're 30, when they're 35, when they're 40, I'm like, it's over for the whole industry.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's that, and I'm happy that I get to be a person in both of their lives who's like, yay, like with my little cheerleading pom-pom. And I mean, that's not the only people I'm excited about, but I'm also very excited about, like, DJ Mausner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
yes.
another person, like, yo, it's over for you hoes. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over
Where's DJ? Yeah.
DJ's in Toronto right now, but they go back and forth between Toronto and Los Angeles. And
DJ's brain. Like, I honestly, like, excellent list. Like, everyone on that list, honestly, like, just going back to Jonathan, but, like, just such an honor to witness that, because, like, I got to be in we're just gushing over you, Ajahnis, and you're listening. Just so amazing to watch that, like, happen. I'm just here watching it. Like, excellent list. DJ Mausner, also, like, what a sight to behold. Yeah. Well, is that the full list? Like, those are
my list. I can go on. I'm also excited about, like, Tamara Siobhan, who's coming into her own. She just dropped an album. I was listening to it in a car ride today, Purse Wine, and the album cover the album cover is painted by her friend Paul Thompson, who is also a comedian. But did we all know he was a fine artist like that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, and that is a painting that is being used as an album cover, right? So an intricate painting, and I was just like, yo, is that a vagina purse? And it is. And I'm like, I'm very excited to see this black vagina purse on everybody's Apple Music, Bandcamp, Spotify. Like, yeah. So I'm excited for. I think first of all, I'm excited for everybody who is like on their way up in their comedy journey.
Yeah.
Finding their voice, honing it, like so many great things are gonna come for these people, and I'm excited to witness it and be a part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Let's
what?
also talk about you, right?
No,
you wrote a book.
We're talking a lot.
Book.
And as we did this last week.
We could talk forever. Yeah. Yeah, you wrote a book.
Secretly, I sponsored this podcast, everyone. That is the spoiler alert. I'm just here to sell my book.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of great things, and I'm so excited. Like Tita Power. Okay, excuse me. I think the first time I watched Tita Collective was during the Asian and Funny. Y'all sent in a video, and I was like, this is so great. Yo, excited for Rocky Mazoria to be a lead in a primetime TV show. Let's go, Rocky. Right?
Amen.
Yeah. I knew all of these people when. That's what's exciting, is I'm gonna be like, I knew these people when.
Yes, and to be that person, you can catch all of those folks in various shows on Bad Dog Comedy TV.
Bad Dog
Comedy
TV.
Well, that kind of, obviously the list is long, but that kind of wraps up our big five. I do this thing
Did we ask 5 questions? Damn, that was fast.
Yeah, there were 5 things, I'm pretty sure. I think last week I missed one. It's okay, we live and learn, as we say. But, yeah. Thanks so much, Coco. Like, before you go, I do have a lightning round. So it's another 5, everyone. Lightning round.
Lightning round, okay.
So, here we go. Number 1, you are a snack reviewer, so I have to ask, which Kit Kat, original or matcha?
Oh, matcha.
Matcha.
Yeah, it's not as sweet. Like, it's good. It's nice.
It's delicious.
Yeah, but I will say strawberry beats both of them for me personally.
I didn't even know there was strawberry there.
Yeah.
You heard it. You heard it here.
Yeah, there's
Kit Kat strawberry, everyone.
Yeah, there's also taro. Okay.
Stop. Okay, wait, I just want to know all of the flavors now. But number 2, one more thing. What is actually, there are 4 more things. What is a self-care must-have that you can't live without?
Bathtub,
yes. What are you watching these days? TV shows, film?
I'm watching Succession. It's fun to watch white people be mean to each other.
That show. I love that show. They're all so bad, but so confident.
Bad. And the acting is just incredible.
Yeah.
It's funny when they're all panicking at the same time, and I'm just like, this is not even about color in a way. If you've been in a big family and you've had like a panic situation happen while you're with all the members of your family, extended family, and people that are like kind of family adjacent, that shit is real. Yeah. Everybody like, but what about this? Yeah, but what about this? Yeah, but it's not even this. Like, that shit is deep.
It's just such, it's like so nice to have like everything good about a reality TV show, but everything good about TV at the same time.
Yeah.
Just excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent work.
So
okay.
Good.
Number 4. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say Tony Leung?
Oh my God.
I did some research on you, and I want to know.
Oh my God. I love him so much. I've loved this man since I was like 8. Like, do people... like 30 plus years I've been watching him. He's in my favorite movie of all time. It's an episodic series in Canto called Heavenly Sword and Dragon Saber. I talk about it in my one person show called Mixed Chick, and like I adore this man. He's such an incredible actor, and he's so fine, and he's so confident. And the scene in Shang-Chi where he has his fucking blazer rolled up.
The roller, the
blazer
sleeve
rolled up.
That did things to me. That did things to me.
He does things to me all the time. Well, okay, I don't know him. Okay, I don't know Tony Leung, but I don't think I would be able to breathe or even speak if I was in the same room as him. I love him so much.
I love this energy.
Yeah, I watched Shang-Chi I think 3 times because I was like, and I'm talking about in theaters.
Yeah, I saw it twice. I'm due for a third if it's not in the theaters anymore. Missed
It's on
opportunity.
Disney Plus now.
All right. Well,
Yeah, and I think it's $1.99 this month, so get on it.
I will pay for Tony Long sleeves and more.
Yeah.
And last, where can we find out more about your work? Where? Twitter, Instagram, what is your handle?
So I'm at COKO GALORE on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I don't do TikTok. My TikTok is just so I could download it and put it onto Instagram. I am mostly an Instagram and Twitter person. Facebook is Oh, sorry, Meta. It's
Meta.
And I'm a gift queen, so I love Twitter and Instagram for that reason.
Yes, give Coco a follow. It's a lot of nice content about Tony Leung, I will say.
He's so fun. And the more gifts that come out of him in Shang-Chi, the happier I become. Like, there was a new one that I saw the other day when he's looking up with his long hair. Like, I was like, this man is so much.
Yes. All right, well, that was our show. Thank you so much, COKO GALORE, for joining us for 5 Things at Bad Dog Comedy TV. Please, please, please check out more of her stuff, more of Tony Leung. And if you haven't yet, please hit follow or subscribe to this channel. As you've already gathered, Coco and I know a lot of famous people, and they're all going to be on this channel, so you better be following. So keep up to date on all of the cool programming Bad Dog has coming your way. And if you'd like to support the show, consider donating to www.baddogtheater.com/5things. A big shout out to Ajahnis Charley, who we gushed about quite a lot, but not enough. Our tech, thank you so much, Ajahnis, and thank you so much for joining us. I've been Alia Rasul, and in the words of my people, ingat, take care, and have a great night. Bye.